Okay, I think it's live. Hi. Let me go see. Hello. Are we up and running over here? Oh, we are. Okay, good. Hi there. I'm using this mic today, so hopefully it's not too anything. If there's any weirdness whatsoever, please let me know and I can quickly switch to my other mic. But it should be working okay. I don't use this software for other purposes. Hi, Olivia. Hi. Hi from Norway. Hi, Hex and Joy. Hi, Glenda. Yeah, like I said, I don't. This is a nice mic, but I don't know if it works well for streaming, so please let me know. Perfect. Hi, Shannon from Maryland. Hi, Nikki. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, good. I was worried. It's the whole like, if it glitches while I'm speaking, 'tis an issue. So I'm in a different setup here because this is what I have had set up for the last like 3 weeks, so we're keeping it like this for now. Thank you, Kira. No crackles, that's what I want to hear. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So glad to hear. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Thank you, Julie. Perfect. I love to hear it. Well, don't worry, nobody will ever hear me sing. Unless you're in the car with me. And then and there are the rules that happen in the car where it's just everyone sings and nobody judges. So there's that. Thank you. So the funny thing about my haircut is I got this done right after the last live, like probably I think it was maybe the following Monday or Tuesday or something of the last live. And I went in and I said I wanted a shoulder length bob. And so I didn't want it to be very angled. And I've been shorter than this before, but when so when she cut my hair, it was shoulder length. But then when she went in to add the layers, when it was dry, it was obviously this is a month of growth. So I don't even know if you heard that when I was facing away, but a month of growth here. So it's fine. It's fine. The only thing that stinks about it is like I can't have a bad hair day because I can't just throw it up without looking. My hair gets very oily very quick because it's very fine. And I'm just an oily person whatsoever. So, yes, it's thank you. And I'm managing it. But it's hilarious because I asked for shoulder length and I got chin length. So here we are. Hi, Nova. No Hobbit songs, I'm sorry. Unless you'd like me to sing Tom Bombadil song. Yo ho, Mary do. I can't believe I just did that. The car rules are if there's music, everyone has to sing. Exactly. Oh, hi, Lauren. Okay, so now that we have a big group here, yay! Happy Friday, happy day before Halloween. I think they would call it isn't that mischief day? Um, but yeah, so we are in the midst of Halloween party prep, so things are really crazy. Starting last night until Saturday night, we have a very busy few days. And so my son's birthday is on Halloween, which makes it a big celebration every year, which is totally great. But it also means that we have a party every year, and so it's almost always on a school day, and we have the party regardless. And so what happens is we'll party prep during the day. We party prep the day before. So my husband makes what's called a pavlova. If you haven't had a pavlova before, it's the best dessert possible. It's like a big meringue with a bunch of fruit and whipped cream on top. It's my son's favorite dessert. So he's making 2 pavlovas today. I got to finish doing some interior decorations. We have to wrap gifts and set up all that stuff for his birthday tonight. We always throw a crap ton of balloons in the hallway for him, so he's excited for that. And then he wakes up, he does a couple gifts, goes to school. We have lunch with him at school, comes home from school. We finish all the party prep, in the meantime, and then it's party until midnight or later. It's truly every year. It's the same crowd. It's a lot of fun. So we're in the midst of all that. And so, but I knew that, of course, at the end of the month is the live. And so I just felt like it was a really big missed opportunity to not announce the podcast before the live, right? It gives me something to talk about. And two, it just, there are those of you who are tuning in right now who will more than likely also tune in to the podcast. So it's a great opportunity for you to ask me questions about it, for us to talk about it, all that stuff. Thank you, Hex and Joy. I, it is what it is, my haircut. I wasn't like, I didn't even do anything. Everyone was like, "Oh, did you even pay for it?" And I'm like, I'm never not going to pay for a service that I received, even if I'm not happy with it. Like they can't put the hair back. It's fine. It does stink though, because like I said, I can't just throw it up, but it will get to that point again eventually. So, but I don't mind it being short. I like the way that it looks. I like the way that it feels. It's never gets tangled, but it is a bit of a pain to deal with. Thank you, Nikki. He's going to be 11. I can't believe I'll have an 11-year-old on my hands as of tomorrow. I can't. I cannot believe it's been that long since, I gave birth. Like, it feels like it was only 5 years ago. It's crazy. So, anywho, if you didn't know and you haven't tuned in, I made an announcement today that I'm releasing a podcast, which is very exciting. I love the name. I was worried the name was a little too cheesy, but honestly, just went with it and I committed to it. I couldn't think of anything better. And it honestly it goes well with the theme of the show. So if you didn't see the video that I posted today, essentially, I am hosting a sewing podcast. The first episode releases next Friday, and that one is with Lauren. So it's a pre-recorded video podcast. But it will also be available in audio form as well if you don't want to watch it. But I was told that it makes sense to do both, so I have to be on camera, which is not my favorite, but it is what it is. And so it's essentially just a conversation with various creators, makers, business owners, designers, all those things. And it is an opportunity for me to have these conversations and just so that I can share it with you so that you can kind of hear these behind the scenes things. And when I say behind the scenes, I don't really mean like what somebody uses to create their things. I mean like their struggles, their accomplishments, the story. Like what is their story behind their success, their growth, their all those things. And like sometimes that story is messy. It's not always fun and there are parts of it that kind of stink. And there's so much healing that happens in sharing it, but there's also so much learning that happens when you hear it from somebody else too. And so I've had a lot of those conversations on my own with people, and I just have always wanted to share it. And so I finally decided just to do it. And so I'm very excited. Karina says, give it a couple more years and he'll be married and live on his own. Ask me how I know. Not ready to contemplate that yet. I feel like I am we are those parents. Like we're planning our house that we will have built in Maryland when it's time for us to move. And we have already established that the basement is going to essentially be an apartment for my child. For like his early 20s, like all throughout college. So he's going to be with us for a while, for sure. He's slightly obsessed with us, so that's okay. But there will be a point where I'm probably going to want to kick him out, boot him right out. We'll see. Not looking forward to that though. As much as I feel like I might want it sometimes, I'm like, no. When he goes and stays with his grandmother for a couple weeks in South Carolina in the summer, it's like, what do we do? It's so quiet. The house stays clean. I don't even know how to survive with that. But so, yeah. So the podcast, I mean, that's what I've been working on. That's what I've been working on for the last couple of months. It took a lot of time to um, do the research I needed, to get the equipment I needed, to figure out the setup. In the meantime, I was also working on a few other designs and like nothing really felt totally right yet. And so it was like, well, I will put that down and let me focus on the podcast. And so that's what I've been doing. It is absolutely terrifying to me because like I'm pretty good at learning software. I've had to learn various softwares throughout my designing career, but it is still terrifying, especially when it's just something completely foreign. And so I've told my friends this feels a lot like when I released the Gaia, when I was like, I have no business doing this. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just figuring it out as I go. And I think sometimes that's just the only way to do it. You're never going to figure it all out. And so I decided that I just have to make it exist before I make it better. And then I make it better. Hi, Nikki. Karina says, I called my mom almost crying and said, no one told me when I had kids they'd be leaving me one day. I know. I know. Olivia says, anything worth doing is a little terrifying. Yeah. So I think the quote that I saw, which I love one-liners, they're my favorite, is I think it's what was it? Something about anything worth I can't even quote it now, but something along the lines of anything that's worth a damn is worth giving a damn or something like that. And I'm like, mm-hmm. I can't quote anything to save my life. That's why I need them to be short and succinct that I can repeat all the time. Kira says, well, at least you care enough to actually figure it out. Thank you. I do. I try to learn because like to me, it's worth the effort to make it as best as I can. And then minor improvements over time make it out to be a major improvement. And I always think there's room for improvement in anything that we do. Nobody has it all figured out. So I have learned to give myself grace in that way. But like figuring out an RSS feed and like the amount of subscriptions required to run a podcast is bananas. Bananas. Like you have to have subscriptions if you're using like royalty free music and you don't want to have to do licensing or pay for licensing or kind of get flagged essentially. So there's a subscription for that. There's a subscription for the software you use that's kind of like Zoom to record a podcast. There's a subscription for the RSS feed. You take every platform in which you essentially host to is going to take some form of your money. But there's also, they all provide ways for you to make money too. They just gonna take a cut of it. So it's just kind of like there's a lot to it, and I just wasn't expecting that, not to mention the equipment costs and the time and all that stuff. But thankfully, that's stuff that I can figure out on my own. And when it comes to just the actual interview, that's only an hour or two at a time. The rest of it's easy to figure out with and coordinate with people so far. But the technical side of things just requires just me figuring out, which is way nicer than having to have other people figure out the technical stuff at the same time. Olivia says, we are always just figuring out and just do it. Yep. Karina says, can't wait to hear the podcast. Love sewing podcasts. So I have listened to quite a few, but I really like the long form kind of interview thing. I've always loved people's stories, so I love that. The way that I described it to the various guests that will be on is that like everyone already knows that you know how to sew, and they know that you know these technical things. I have to say, like, that's probably not that much what they want to hear about it. If it comes up, wonderful. But that's not the focus. The focus is more of like, tell me about that story about that horrific release or that, you know, I want to hear their part of a story behind whatever event or accomplishment or anything like that. And so if we get to talk about sewing a little bit, fine, but that's not really the focus. So I love that. Like it is a sewing podcast, but not really at the same time. It's more of an interview podcast in a sewing setting, if that makes sense. And Kira says, yes, love that you're being legal too. Absolutely. I'm not playing around with, I stress about everything as it is. So there's no way that I'm gonna do anything without, like, I've got a DBA. I have release agreements. Everything is above board for me because that's just asking to get flagged, and then it's a lot harder to fix things than it is to just start correctly. Hi, Tracy. Karina says, yes, agree. Love hearing everyone's sewing story. Yes. So I'm really excited. So, like I said in the little video that I posted today, there are 15 guests, and then at the end, there's a bonus episode. And so I'm really excited. I have done and edited, and it's ready for release, hopefully. Like, I don't think it'll ever be ready, but it's as ready, I think, as I can make it. And so but I didn't with kind of the world that we live in right now, everything changes so quickly that I was very hesitant to, like, pre-record everything as quickly as I could and then release it down the line. And so because episodes are releasing every other week, I decided to push the recording to essentially be before but in line with that, because I would hate to candidly talk about something and then something major happens in the world and when it's released we seem tone deaf, and so I think it would be better as a more up-to-date thing. So I've only recorded one. My next interview is on Tuesday, and then it will be, I think, 2 weeks after that. So they will be in quote unquote real time for everyone. And I really hope that uh, it works out. So far, everyone's been agreeable to the schedule, so I'm excited, and everyone that I've talked to has been very excited. And only 2 people have declined me to be interviewed from who was on my list, so I'm excited. Let me see here. But other than that, like I said, I haven't really been sewing that much. I haven't really been too inspired. It's been tough. I talked about this on the last live, but like there's just a lot of patterns out right now. There is a lot of things for you as a consumer to engage with. You have so many new patterns, so many new materials and things in which to kind of spend your money on. And so I always try to figure out how I can kind of fill a little hole somewhere, and I just don't see that little hole for me to fill in right now. Will my podcast be a video or is it audio only? It will be both. So it's a pre-recorded video, but it's also going to be audio only on the various platforms in which that would be. So Spotify and Apple Podcasts. 1 second, because Gaia is scratching at my sewing room door because she requires to be let in. My old girl. She squeaks a lot. But she turned 15 in May. She's an old girl. All right, chant a potential bag name. The Shanny Pack. They already know that is a name for a fanny pack in the future, and we have so Nikki has been in part of my chats. There's now cat hair everywhere. Ugh. Nikki has been in part of my chats, and so one of the things that I was working on, like seeing if I wanted to do right now, was the fanny pack. That will be named the Shanny Pack because it's just freaking hilarious. But it's hard because like there's so many fanny packs out that are with that same shapes, and so it's like I gotta try and find my own. Not find my own shape. I'm okay doing similar shapes to what's out there already, but how do I want to differentiate mine? And so That's just been something that I haven't figured out just yet. Just in time for Kitty Bomb. Yep. She's restless in the sewing room always. Texan says, I'm excited to listen in. I mentioned a lot of my favorite small business owners in my discussion boards at school right now. Listening to their heartfelt stories will definitely keep me going. Absolutely. Oh, yeah, she's an interesting color because she is like brown and tan tabby on her belly, and she's got a pretty little white chest, but then she's like all orange and brown on top. So she's a weirdo. She also is like a weird shape. She's like pleasantly plump in her belly, but the rest is normal shaped. Thank you, Karina. Nikki says, "We know your construction will be different than anyone else." I know. You can't you can't you can't deny that I'm gonna make you guys uncomfortable. I already promised that when I release the shanty pack, you guys are probably gonna hate it because it's gonna have to be same thing with a wallet. It's gonna be the most complicated thing that I put in front of you. But it is what it is. It'll at least be functional. Yeah. Just making noises. So the thing with so I will say, so you guys, if you watched the video, you saw that the first episode is with Lauren, and Lauren and I had a good conversation, and we just talked this. Yes, she sent me a VM last night and was like, there was even more stuff that I was willing to talk about, and so I think that that's awesome. Like that to me, the fact that Lauren was like really, she had even more that she wanted to share, more that she wanted to say makes me excited that hopefully we can continue to have that with the future guests as well. I'm a pretty honest person. I'm a pretty vulnerable person, and I tend to kind of help pull that out of other people as well. Tell me your stories, things like that. And so Lauren was extremely vulnerable, very open, and just like how she is in person too. If you just don't have the opportunity to have those one-on-one conversations, these are the kinds of things that you don't know. And then so to have this interview felt really nice because she also has that trust in me too, and it was just a really comfortable conversation. And so I would love to have her back on for that very reason that like she has more that she wants to talk about. She wants to share. And that's the thing. Like there's so much that goes on behind the scenes with a lot of business owners, and we talk to one another. We do. And so but we don't put all of that kind of those not grievances, but like frustrations or struggles on blast because why would you? You know? That you don't want that to be the focus of your business, but it is nice now that they will have a place in which to share. Thank you, Karina. I spend a lot of time coming up. Oh, Gaia, let me help you. Sorry, she's too old. She can't jump down. Um, I spend a lot of time trying to, I don't want to say perfect because nothing's perfect, but figuring out how I can make this better and better and better. And sometimes it involves some really weird stuff that I have coined as Shannon work. And sometimes it seems really weird, but at the end of the day, it really does make for better bags, in my opinion. Just a lot of little things that end up really making a better product at the end. Olivia says sharing and educating is so important because it gives people inspiration to go after their dreams. Yes. It lets you know what's achievable, or it gives you maybe expectations of like if you were thinking about doing this, now you have some inkling of like what's ahead of you or what are some potential challenges. I don't want to give away the future guests that I have because I like that it's going to be a little bit of a surprise, but I will share that one of them, because you guys wouldn't know who she is for the most part unless you have her as your CPA, but it's my tax lady. And that seems like maybe a boring interview, but I'm so excited because I really want people to hear. We're not giving any, she's gonna disclaimer the shit out of everything, of course, right? And so will I. Both of us will. But it's nice because her and I will have that ability to talk about my experience and my learning process. And I can share things, and you know that it's the truth because it's my tax lady. So, like, I think that I'm really looking forward to that one because she'll also be able to give insight of like, this is what I have seen that most people do wrong. And like, you should talk to your own person and figure out how you, if you're doing this, how you could stop doing that, things like that. Because when my best friend Maria and I got, um, when they called it got legit, we were absolutely clueless. We had no idea how much one work it was, but two, how illegal we were being essentially. And I don't want anyone to be like, "Oh my gosh, you're giving me legal advice when you shouldn't be." No, that's not what I'm doing. I'm just telling you that what most people do is wrong and they should maybe be corrected at least know what is the correct thing to do, maybe because if you don't know, you truly just don't know. Like we just thought, oh, we just fill out these forms and we're good to go. Absolutely not. And so now she's my CPA, but she's also technically my accountant because um I've gained Nexus in a few states and it's just too hard for me to manage on my own. So she's heavily involved in all of my accounting. So I'm really looking forward to that episode, but I have to get that done before February. That was her one rule. You cannot I cannot do it past February. That's it. And I was like, perfect. I got you. All right, let me catch up on comments. Karina says the way the V shape on the Adidas comes together is perfection. Thank you. I will say it took a lot of the exterior V came together rather easily. The interior V to like that I have redone that piece so many times because the construction is the same, but the fit needs to be perfect or as perfect as I can make it. And it took a lot of variations of that one to make it come together as easily as the exterior. Olivia says, "Oh my god, give me the tax lady episode right meow." I know. And Ket, she's a good soul, so I'm really excited to she doesn't know the absolute depth of kind of the conversation I'm going to, but she's so kind of like gung ho about everything, so I'm really excited. X and Joy says, "Accounting major here. I'm going to be excited. Yay." Nova says that's a great interview. Thank you. Nova actually did something similar with another designer who is a full-time accountant as her day job. And so she said that was a really great feedback for her on her Patreon account. And so, or for like her subscribers on her Patreon. And so I think that I love that. I'm like, again, I think first kind of reaction is a bit like, oh, maybe that's going to be boring, but I bet it's not going to be. I bet it's going to be a great episode. And Lauren says, "Oh, that's gonna be awesome." Yeah, I'm excited. So no pressure for her now. Good thing she doesn't watch my lives to know how much I just talked her up. But no, she's saved my butt for sure. And so she's really awesome. So yeah, speaking of taxes and stuff, not to get into the financials, but just throwing this out there because I do feel like it's, if I have the opportunity to, I will do it. If you can donate to any shelters or any like food donation services, please do that. If you can, if you know any small businesses that are military spouse related, this is myself included, but please don't think that I'm out here being like, please buy my stuff. I'm just saying that, like, right now, if you weren't aware, with the government shut down, military members, service members are not getting paid. It's up in the air, maybe if my husband's gonna get paid on the first, but we prepared for this. We kind of expected this, and we just didn't set ourselves up to kind of struggle through this. We will be fine. But there are other people who didn't prepare for this. So if you know of a business that maybe you've been considering purchasing from, and if you have the means and you know that they're related tangentially or whatever to the military, they're a part of a military family, I guess is the way I should phrase that. Please support them in this time. Most military families, the way that it works is, this doesn't speak for all of them, but just because a lot of people don't know this, if you're a military family, typically you move a lot, which a lot of people know that. But that moving means that most of the time, half of that family, right, the half of that spousal relationship typically has to put their career on hold. It's only been in the last decade where a lot of us can work from wherever. And you know, so the main source of income is typically the service member. And so it's tough right now because people are relying on the money that they have stored away, packed away in their savings or whatever. They have no additional money coming in if that's their, main source of income. Think about people who are barely getting by, and right now they're looking at that number just go down. It's really scary, and that is right before that's when food stamps go away. So there's other things people don't know. So food stamps. All right. So here's a personal story. Back when we moved to Japan, and I we had just moved into our house, and we just had our son. Almost every family that I knew who had a new baby or had children were on quote unquote food stamps. Um, us included. And because even though your housing is paid for, you don't really have a car payment while you're there. Everything else is so expensive. Groceries are expensive overseas and everything else. And it's so damn near impossible for military spouses to get a job overseas. So almost everyone was relying solely on that service member's income. So there are people who are in that same boat that I was in then, and that didn't even cover all the food we needed. That covered beans and milk and formula and baby food, a small amount of vegetables, things like that. And so they don't have income right now. And they can't get income because they have no way to have income coming in because there are no jobs available for military spouses there. So, anyway, all of that to say is like if you can support them right now, that would be amazing. There's a good chance we're going to get back pay, but there's also a chance that we won't. That has been tossed out a couple times, and we are preparing and acting as if we won't get that back pay. So it's just a scary time. All right, catching up. Sorry, that was a bit of a soapbox rant there. Olivia says, not boring at all. It's a totally smart episode and will answer a lot of questions people have. Tax and all that stuff is so hard to navigate. It's hard to navigate, and it's also ever changing too. It really is. Tex and Joy says, I get it, military spouse here. We still waiting on a paycheck. Yep. Olivia says it's so important right now to come together as a community and help each other. That's something that's actually so my best friend Maria, she works for a company, a food company, and she's kind of in the corporate world of that, but she has somebody who asked her about like, hey, if you know anyone that's on food stamps that's not getting that right now, let me know. We can get a box curated and sent to them. And so I do have a family member, and actually that family member reached out to me, and because she does some work for me on my business for my social media stuff, and they were like, if you need to, we'll pause my payment so that, and I'll work for you, and then you back pay me. And they said that they were on food stamps, and I did not know that. But I learned of that, and I was like, well, first of all, I'm not going to pass on our struggle to you. I will still pay you. You still do the work for me. But if I need to pause for a month or two, if we get to that point, I will. And they were open to that. But then I found that they were on food stamps. So I I told my best friend about it, and my best friend told her coworker, and now they are coordinating a box to be sent to my family. So how amazing is that? That um I've really felt the community. I've felt family check in with me, friends check in with me checking in with other friends, all that stuff. The communal feeling still exists, and that is really, really wonderful. Okay, Tracy says, my sister is a retired air traffic controller, but still has friends who are working without pay right now. Yes, that's another thing. It is business as usual. My husband, he's also going away for a couple weeks soon. And so, like, there's no not working in the military. They wouldn't allow the military to not work because that leaves us very vulnerable, right? So they have to work. They have to continue to do that. And until, you know, I don't know. I don't really know what happens when it goes so long. But like a good example is my husband got a call from his commander on Tuesday night, and it was a required call for everyone kind of in this line that they needed to check in to make sure essentially that people are able to afford their basics before they go in the red. Like nobody's going to starve. Their children aren't going to starve, things like that. And that is really heartbreaking. Carrie says, so frustrating. We aren't getting paid either. Hub's a civil service right now. One more year until he can retire from that one, too. Can't believe that 30 years after I left active duty, our lower ranks still qualify for WIC and SNAP. Yeah, WIC was what I was on. I couldn't remember the name. I wouldn't have survived without those when it was just me and my oldest. Yeah, like truly, we wouldn't have been able to afford. I pumped, and so I overproduced, but until I got to that point, we had to supplement with formula, and we wouldn't have been able to afford formula fully on our own. There's no way. Karina says, "Are you saying that military personnel in the U.S. don't get paid right now? What's happening?" So in the U.S. right now, the government is shut down, and so service members are government employees, but they can't not work. They have to work still. And so they're just working without being paid. So literally, my husband did get one paycheck, but the government's been shut down for over a month now. About a month? I don't remember. It feels like 4 years. But it's been a while, and there's no end in sight. I don't want this to get political. The whole goal of this was kind of to explain what's happening. It's frustrated, and since so many of us purchase from small businesses, if you know of any of those small businesses that are part of a military family and you've been considering purchasing, essentially what I'm saying now is a great time. Yeah, 30 days. Yeah. So it's because the federal fiscal year is October. The only reason I know that is because my husband always says it's called use or lose days. So it's like you get so many days of leave a year, and my husband never uses them all. So he tends to either get paid out or use them all right before. Yeah, shutdown was the first. Yeah. So, and that's essentially it's when funding they run out and all this other stuff. So it's really complicated at the same time that it's not. It's just two sides not agreeing, and it impacts a ton of people. And yeah, it really stinks. Really stinks. But so anyway, again, we are going to be okay. We don't rely on my income. We haven't relied on my income in the past, but we are now. We aren't really relying on it now, but we are preparing to rely on it, if that makes sense. Normally we save most of my income, so we have that savings in which to pull from to float us until hopefully we get back paid. But we'll see. It's a crazy time right now. But yeah, so I haven't really been doing much else. I did start crocheting again. Crocheting is my favorite thing to do at soccer practice and right while we're waiting for the soccer games to start. But in my downtime, because I have been playing Palia, that's what I've been doing in my downtime. So I haven't been crocheting much. But so I'm now crocheting a Palia stuffy at soccer practice because I can't play Palia at soccer practice. But that's not done. I protect the family. Yes, Kira. Good one. Thank you, Karina. But yeah, so like I said, I've been mainly working on the podcast, which, I'm over the moon for. Olivia says you got me addicted to Palia. I know. There's a new, I don't know if you noticed, there's a new thing where if you eat all the candy you collected, it helps contribute to this thing and you get some rewards out of it. I've been eating my candy as I go, so I have nothing to contribute. Feeding them to my pets. For those that don't know, Palia is a video game that I play all the time. My name is Ivy Evermore in game, but it's spelled IVIE space Ever MOOR, which is a Taylor Swift reference. You're welcome. Yes. Also, since the last live, Taylor Swift released a new album, so I hope everybody has been enjoying that. Seems like people are on two sides of the spectrum there. They either love it or they hate it. I had kind of an in-between moment, not where I hated it, but I was like, I'm still reacting. And so I had like a week of obsession and then a week of like, like I need to feel a little some type of way. And there's a lot of like negative reviews coming out. And I'm like, this is why I wasn't on social media for this reason. And then I left that group I was in and I turned away from consuming any of the online bad reviews or whatever else when it came to The Life of a Showgirl. And I have enjoyed it much better. Absolutely have a much better time with it when I don't listen to other people's opinions, which of course is what I should be doing. Yeah. Oh, I also forgot to say, if you didn't see or you're not subscribed to the emails or anything like that, I did schedule the email today, but maybe, I don't know if it went out or not, but there is a sale tomorrow and Saturday on my website for 10 or 11% off because for my son's 11th birthday. But I'll have to make sure that my marketing email went out. If it didn't, you'll probably get it this evening. I thought I clicked the button. I very well could not have. Yeah. So I don't know if anyone has any questions for me. Karina, thank you. I'm excited for the podcast. But I have had a boring month otherwise, you know? Oh, you did, Karina? Perfect. All right, well, then I don't need to do nothing. I won't click that button. Perfect. Love that. Okay. It's not a lot, but it's what I can offer. So, but it's off everything. It's off even the $3-4 items. It's off the bobbin holders, all that stuff. Nikki says, that means I'm not subscribed. How am I not subscribed? You could be. I sent it off at 12, but I scheduled it to go out at 12, but sometimes it takes a couple hours to send them all. Thank you. Thank you. Lindiana Jones. I love that. Halloween's are fun. This fun birthday. My son really plays it up too because when he goes trick or treating, he'll be like trick or treat, and they give him the candy, and then he's like, "It's my birthday," and they give him another piece of candy, and I'm like, I respect that. I have to respect that. Keep doing it, please, especially at the houses with the big candy bars. Taylor Nation offered what? Another version. Sorry. All right, so I know that this is a shorter live today than I normally try to go an hour, but I think I'm going to end it now so that I can go and cook dinner and then do all of the party prep that we have to do. Absolutely. I'm trying to be out there hustling for that candy. But I'm telling you, if he brings home any Whoppers this year, Julie says, I was informed that my Social Security would not be deposited on time. Also, my Illinois food assistance card will not be replenished. I'm so sorry, Julie. It's quite infuriating to bear witness right now, and to also be impacted. And it's tough. It's really tough. I know that there are a lot of programs out there right now that are helping people who aren't getting food stamps, including I know that. So if you have ever heard me talk about HEB, I love HEB. They donated like $5 million worth of food just a couple days ago, and I know that they'll do it again. They're really good about stuff like that. So, but there's a lot of, I don't have the resources to give to you, but I know that they're posting them everywhere right now because there's so many people that are in need. And so if you haven't already, I would really see if you can reach out. So HEB, Kellogg's, other big companies, a lot of them have a lot of I don't wanna say samples, but, like, products that are maybe, like, seasonal that they may be overstocked on or whatever, didn't sell well. They have a ton of extras, and I know that there are companies like that that are giving them away. But, thank you. Thank you, Olivia, and thank you, Karina. Everyone, have a good weekend, have a safe Halloween if you celebrate, and yeah, thank you for tuning in.